My name is David Daniels. I am the CEO of ID2 Solutions, which is a boutique health, safety, and environmental consulting practice that involves predominantly me. I've been in safety for about 42 years all total. The early part of it in the fire rescue service, the last 12 years specifically focused on nothing but occupational health and safety. Interestingly, I heard about NASP when I was serving as the executive director of workplace safety for the city of Atlanta. And I was looking, it was not long after my retirement from fire services, active involvement in fire services, I should say. And I was looking for some certification opportunities, but I was told by some groups that I didn't have enough experience. So am I going to buildings on fire and things exploding and people being shot and me doing, first aid on people for years and years and years? Didn't give me any experience. So I stumbled across this group called the National Association of Safety Professionals, who said that I could actually take what I'd already learned and get a credential. So I did, and I've stuck with it. What drove me to complete the Certified Safety Director certification process was the fact that it makes sense to me. There are organizations all over the country who have safety directors. And again, at the time that I got my first certification, that's actually what my title was. It was a director of safety. And so I started out actually as a certified safety manager and kind of went through that track. And I liked the fact that I could choose information. Now, I couldn't choose all of it, but it was customizable enough to be able to suit what I already knew. And I'll be quite honest. There are a couple of the courses I could have taught myself. I was a hazmat technician. I was a technical rescue technician, went to, things like the Oklahoma City bombing. So I certainly had the background. And so I was able to, on certain of the courses, I simply went to the test and took it and passed it. And then there were others, not so much. So it was kind of this balance, depending on the things that I knew already and the things I kind of really didn't know all that well, but it gave me the opportunity. Matter of fact, there were a couple that I passed on the third. It was getting really hairy there. But I enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed the fact that I could do it at my pace, at my time, when I got ready. I've never been to an in-person training. I've always done them remotely, but it worked for me because at the time I was always doing a bunch of other stuff. So that, and again, I cherish the CSD credential because to me, it reflects what a working guy like me does. And again, I have a Ph.D. in occupational health and safety. So it's not as if I don't have other credentials, but this one's really special because it's something you have to get your hands dirty a little bit to get it. And the process recognizes that, but also on the other hand, doesn't overly emphasize any particular part of it. It's flexible, and so I treasure having the credential. Yeah, I did, and again, the barrier to me was the fact that I needed quote unquote experience. And the experience was kind of limited to, have you been a safety manager at a construction site, that type of thing. And it could have been more broader than that, but it came across to me as being a little too limiting. And it didn't recognize the fact that, again, I was the chair of the safety committee for the International Association of Fire Chiefs. I was on the board of directors as their very first safety representative. And in fire rescue circles, Kind of, there aren't very many people who know more about it than I do. And even me, when I pursued some of these other credentials, I didn't fit. And now I am kind of used to not fitting. There's that whole part. So I try to look for my tribe. I try to look for places that are accepting of me the way I am and what I do bring to the table. And that's what I found about not only this credential, but the workplace violence prevention specialist and the emergency management specialist that I also have. Those are important to me because they are things that I've actually done, not things that I just learned about, but I've actually done them. And I really like the applicability of these credentials. And some of the other credentials were really just too limiting for me. It depends. Some of it was really easy. Some of it was really hard. And most of it was someplace in between. Again, I imagine that someone who has not had the experiences I had, it would be difficult. It would be, some of them. And so again, the kind of the way you can work up kind of modularly, I don't believe someone could walk in off the street and know nothing about safety and pass this. Matter of fact, I know you couldn't. So it was interesting from my perspective because I found it kind of in the middle. Again, like I said, some things were, but they're easy for me. They wouldn't be easy for someone who hadn't been a hazmat tech and gotten in a level A suit and that type, so it wouldn't have been easy. But on the other hand, there were some, particularly around reporting and such, that having been in the public sector, I didn't have to do a whole lot of OSHA reporting. So it just depends. And again, I like the fact that it is broad and it is challenging. And once you have the credential, it's something to be proud of. I would say in my case, it has more added to what I already had because I had so much, experience and background and expertise at the time. As a matter of fact, I was working on the Ph.D. at the time. So I would say it has enhanced some of the things that I already had. And, it's good to have some credibility in the industry because this is, it's in essence a second career for me. Although I found out about halfway through my fire service career, I was really more interested in safety anyway. So I got assigned as the safety officer and all that type of thing anyway. So I thought, hey, I really like that. So I've just really taken it to its logical conclusion. But I'd say that for me, it's really more enhanced what I already have, and has given me something to continue to pursue. It gives me a reason to not rest on my laurels because I have to be recertified. So I can't just kind of, hey, I got it and check the box. I have to continue to find ways to find additional information. I'm a lifetime learner anyway, but it helps me focus some of my learning on the thing that I've decided to do probably with the remainder of my working life and the remainder of my life period, because I don't see myself ever not being a safety guy. First of all, they should know it exists because a lot of people don't. And I have to be quite honest. There are a lot of folks when they see my credentials, they go, "What's that?" And the fact that I was fortunate enough to be one of the early adopters, I like doing that too. I like being early at stuff. I think part of it is just an awareness that the credential exists, an awareness that the credential is as viable and as important as other safety credentials. There are a lot of them out there, and I'm not one that suggests that one is better or worse than the other. I do like the fact that I have an option. Again, as I've said before, I'm not much into being boxed in. I don't do boxed in very well. So I like the fact that it is flexible enough to be able to be designed around the person rather than a person having to squeeze himself into a box that they don't fit in. But on the other hand, it is not for the faint of heart either. The test wasn't easy. It was, I studied, at least for the exam and all that. So I was fairly comfortable that I would pass it. but I couldn't just walked in there and passed the certification exam having not studied. That would not have worked, to be quite honest. So it is rigorous, yet it is flexible. And I like the balance. In terms of what I recommend it for other people, of course I would. I mean, like I said, it's an option to, and because it is broad enough, there are those who their credential is in specifically in one of the, like industrial hygiene or what have you. Because this crosses the spectrum, I think it's better for some, even for those who may not know that they have a interest in any particular aspect of safety. This gives you more of a broad approach. You can always go back and specialize. So again, my specialty is the identification, assessment, and mitigation of psychosocial hazards. When I say that to most people, they have no idea what I'm talking about anyway. But so I would recommend it. The other reason why I'd recommend it is I would recommend it for people who have either don't want to go to college, or have not been are not finished with their college education. I think it's important that we have options that don't necessarily require you to have a degree to get it. Now, again, I did, but I don't think my degree makes me smarter than anybody else. I just simply showed up at classes and got a grade. That's all. And much of what's going on in safety today involves people who don't have Ph.D.s and master's degrees and bachelor's degrees or any degrees at all, but they're exposed to lots of hazards. As a matter of fact, I would argue that those without college education are exposed to even more hazards than those who are. So that's why, when I talk to people about the CSD, I talk to them about if you are, so you can do it either way. If you are a working person who's really, you're going to be in the field, you're going to be up close to workers, you're really concerned about the health and safety of workers, this is a great option for you. It is, because it is, it's a bottom-up type situation as opposed to, it doesn't come across as elite. And again, I feel there's some days I feel elite as well, but I want to believe that I can live in either world. It depends on who's in the room at the time, and I'm okay either way. But this is really about really making an impact and really getting out there where the hazards are and helping people who might not otherwise be able to help themselves come home safe from their work endeavors. Well, again, I think very highly of the National Association of Safety Professionals. I do. And it's been because of my experience. I've always had, folks have treated me well. I haven't felt like an outsider. I haven't, the bureaucracy is limited. There's a little bit because every association has to have a little, but the bureaucracy's been limited. But it feels folksy and it feels home, to me. Matter of fact, I've sent a handful of people through, particularly the Certified Safety Manager course, and will continue to do that, again, because I tend to hang out around folks who, kind of more working people. But again, for those who are looking for a credential that has some heft to it, that has something that you can be proud of, I certainly recommend it to. And again, I'm particularly passionate about the CSD. MSP is great, but I think CSD is cool. So I certainly recommend it to anyone who's thinking about it.